Was a girl running in our group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford coupe. She had a racing cam and a Super George. Look at Buddy, hot rod and large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod.
Okay, we got to talk about the contract, the workers, the UAW, General Motors. You know they settled. They had a tentative agreement last week. They've settled. But did you know how it went? Because it wasn't 100%. It wasn't. Not everybody was behind it. Let's talk about this. The new contract that General Motors and UAW workers ratified last week, after a 40-day strike, actually gives the automaker what it wanted: the closure of 3 of the 4 plants it was trying to put to bed in its overall restructuring plan. You knew about those. We've talked about those. They were trying to get these plants closed. And they did. They got 3 out of the 4. They didn't get all 4. It did, however, come with a trade-off. To get workers' approval, GM agreed to sweeten the pot with an $11,000 ratification bonus. Hello? And wages that top out at over $32 an hour. Wow. Which puts the company at an even greater disadvantage compared to non-union car makers. Again, I'll remind you, the manufacturers in this country, and there's a lot of them, but the big 3 that started in Detroit that are still there, Ford, FCA Chrysler, it was Chrysler, but now it's FCA Chrysler, and General Motors, are union. They are UAW represented union members they have working for them. All of the import plants that you see all over the country are non-union. They're all put in right-to-work states, and they're non-union. So they don't have to do the things that the UAW wants, and consequently, they build them a little cheaper. Yeah, it's not fair, but hey, it's a democracy. The Hamtramck assembly plant in Detroit will remain open with a $3 billion renovation to build electric trucks. But that Lordstown, Ohio plant that we've been going back and forth, that's gone. That's closed. It was not 100% union vote. It wasn't even an 85% union vote. Okay? Here's how the voting went. In case you're interested, because I was. In case you're interested, I really was. Those plants that voted for, because they all have different locals, okay? The plants that voted for the contract ratification. Toledo transmission plant in Ohio, 80% of the voters recommended to ratify. Arlington Assembly Plant in Texas. You know where that's at. Arlington. 78% voted to ratify. That was the best it got. Wentzville Assembly in Missouri, 64%. And Flint, Michigan Assembly Plant, 60%. Oh, yeah. So there wasn't unanimous. Now, how about who voted against it, who did not want to ratify? Period. The Fairfax Assembly Plant in Kansas, 51% voted against it. So that didn't, that's over half, or better than a majority. Not a majority, but better than half. Spring Hill Assembly Plant in Tennessee, 51% voted against it, against the contract ratification. Bowling Green Assembly Plant in Kentucky, that's where they make the Corvette, 56%. Nope, did not want it. The one that I just really think is wild, Lockport, it's in New York State. It's a Lockport, it's a GMCH, whatever that stands for, I don't care. 81% of the workers did not want to ratify this contract. So this was not, whenever there's a union strike and there's a contract negotiation, it's not always 100%. I mean, this was close. They almost didn't get this 40-day strike done. Now, who won and who lost? We want to talk about that. 928 car guys, if you got to weigh in on this, I'm sure somebody will. Workers at the Detroit Hamtramck plant will keep their jobs with a $3 billion upgrade to the plant. However, GM did win the ability to close 3 plants in Ohio, Michigan, and Maryland. A little upside to these closings is the packages put together by General Motors for the older displaced workers, the older guys. They will be eligible for a $75,000 retirement benefit and a $75,000 buyout, depending on their level of seniority, how long they've been there. So they're not kicking them to the curb. Not if they're dropping 150 grand on them, and they still got their pension and everything. Come on, that ain't bad. It's not bad at all. Here's 150 bucks for 150,000. We're closing your plant. See ya. Especially if I'm 55 years old and I've been there for 30 years. 2018, GM became the largest automaker in Mexico. And it's going to retain that status again in 2020. Doggone it. No mention of any GM manufacturing coming back across the border. That was one of the stipulations UAW wanted, too, making Mexico a major winner in these negotiations. Adding insult to injury, when the numbers are counted, GM is likely to show an increase in Mexico for 2019. Okay. Who's unhappy about that? Pick me. I'm not happy about it, but that's all right. The other two union, here's the losers now. Who is the losers in this negotiation? The other two union automakers in Detroit, Ford and FCA Chrysler, are sure to be unhappy with GM giving in on increased health care benefits, which was part of it, and less cost to the worker, less deductible, less pay out of pocket. And the nice increase in wages. Oh boy. As well as some stipulations regarding new employee wages. Speaking of new hires, the union wanted to get a direct path for hire temporary to full-time. They failed to get a direct path for new hire temporary to full-time employment. While current temporary employers, will all become full-time after 3 years in 2020. They did get that. And any new hires will still be paid only $16.67 an hour. So they're getting less money, for sure. And they didn't get what they wanted. I can understand. You think about it, I can understand why so many of these guys voted against this ratification. It wasn't all there. It was not all there. It just wasn't. And everything they were supposed to get never happened. And they got some. They got their wages up. And they got some nice bonuses for 11 grand. 11 grand because you said, okay, I'll take it. Oh, hello. I mean, that makes a nice Christmas this year. Or a trip or something, I guess. I don't know. Would I be happy if I was a union worker in this sense? I guess I would, simply because I was on the union side, because in 2009, when the recession was on, and they had the bailout, and everybody took money except Ford. If you remember, Ford took no money, and they did cut their workers' pay. They did cut the benefits. Everybody took a hit. General Motors and FCA Chrysler took money from the government, and still all their people had to take a hit because they were getting bailed out. But Ford did not take any money. Ford kept it together. They took, their union workers took the hit, and they never got back. None of these guys, all three companies, never in a negotiation since then. They never once offered them more money. Oh, we're broke. We're not making any money. That's what they always say. That's what a union always, or a plant manufacturer always says. That's what the big brass says. And given all the problems that they went through with the UAW and the fat cats at GM, the fat cats at Chrysler, they haven't got to Ford yet, okay? Let me just tell you. And the last move I heard was the UAW say, well, we're all done with GM. Now we're going to talk to Ford. So we'll see what happens. But they're not going to get a different contract. They're going to get a similar contract. Ford is not going to. Of course, GM's is already signed. So what it is for the next 3 years. This is what you get. $32 an hour, better benefits, but we're going to close some plants. We're going to do this. It was this for that. I mean, it wasn't exactly a give and take, but a lot of the workers did not like the fact that there was not the whole package did not get qualified. Only small parts of it. But the wage increase, does that bring them up to the level they were at in '09? I don't know, because they're using an average. They're using a percentage. I mean, they weren't making $32 in '09, but comparatively to today's economy and that economy, they were below. They weren't paid enough. Now, are they paid enough? Are they in the middle of the economy or in the status in the economy that they belong, or are they still short? I don't know. I'd have to have an economist tell me what this is all about. I'm not an economist. I'm a car guy. That's what I am. That's what I are. I'm a car guy. I got to tell you, I don't know. I think the union did all right for themselves. I think they could have done better, but you know what? At least they got the workers some money, and they got them some health and welfare benefits, and they got them a little bonus for they bought them. Let's face it, $11,000 to say yes, they bought them. That's called bribery in my book. That's not called sweetening the pot. That's called bribery. I got a couple stories here around the car world, and this story is related to what we just talked about. That was a wild back stretch back over back straightaway, but I said what I said, and I'll stand by it all day long. And what I say is my opinion only. It has no reflection on the radio stations, Gerard Media, or anybody else. What I say is my opinion, and I wanted to see him get a little more. But bribery always wins. Hey, in a story related, a former high-ranking UAW official, here we go, who was under scrutiny for conspiracy, they were watching him, and fraud, conspiracy and fraud, has pled guilty to the charges. Jeffrey Pietrzak, we talked about him, you and I, 2 weeks ago. An assistant to former UAW Vice President Joe Ashton, we talked about him too, is the 10th official to plead guilty as part of the ongoing federal probe into the misuse of union funds. 6 of those 10 are former UAW fat cats. The other ones work for the company. Pietrzak must repay $123,000 that he took illegally from the union funds, from $123,000 he took, and will likely receive 24 to 27 months in jail or supervised release. He's just part of a cabal of corruption. The fat cats from the UAW, the fat cats from the corporation got together and said, hey, let's hawk this dough and use it for us. They didn't use it for the training for the people. That's what the union does. They train people. They put qualified people to work and keep them there against all odds, usually. And in a move rather opposite of GM, Fiat Chrysler has announced they're moving its Ram truck production out of Mexico. Done. No more Mexican Ram truck. It's going to be a retooled plant in Warren, Michigan, and bring back 2,500 new jobs. Thank you, FCA Chrysler. I got nothing against Mexico. It's my favorite country. I love it. I've been there 25 times, played a lot of golf there, drank a lot of beer, drank a lot of tequila. I love it. And the food is to die for. But I want jobs for our workers. That's just my way. Anybody who has shopped used cars in the last couple of years, and I've been looking for a lot of my friends, I've gone shopping with some of my customers who had a problem, needed a car, has probably noticed that prices are all over the place, and they are. Up, down, they change from week to week, and they're unstable here, and as well as they're unstable from week to week, just like I just told you. Now a study by Cox Automotive and Mannheim Auto Auction, you've heard of them. If you don't know Cox Automotive, you know Mannheim, is saying that the majority of used vehicles will have consistent prices in 2020. It's going to level off, which would increase sales. Now, he didn't say if they're going to level off high or low. So you're going to have to make that judgment for yourself. I don't know if are they going up or they going down. Nobody wants to say. But, however, there will be that normal jump in the spring. You know, at tax return time. That's because they know you're getting money back. So the prices go up. You tell me we're not slaves to the media in this country, for God's sakes. They can sell broken shingles to a roofer if it's at the right time and they make it sound good. So at tax time, that's not a good time to buy a car. Forget it. Forget about it. You know what's a good time to buy a car? a used car or even a new car right now. And it gets better as we get into December, because sales in December generally go right down the toilet. Salesmen usually plan their vacations in December because there's just everybody's spending money on Christmas. Nobody's spending money on a car. Nobody's thinking about a car unless they actually have a car that broke and can't be repaired, or they need a car, or they got to get a car for Junior to go back to school at the first of the year. But nobody's really thinking about it. That's the time to buy one. Let me tell you. It's a good time. All right. I think this is a bad move here. Penske Corporation is launching its new car sharing program. Come on. Penske Dash, as it's called. It's in Washington, D.C. and Arlington, Virginia. It's this week they're doing it. This is despite that car sharing groups are now downsizing and even pulling out they're pulling out of some of the large markets. I told you, they pull out Chicago. The one that was in Chicago, they're pulling out of 5 different big cities. They're done. They've had enough. They don't want any part of it. The car sharing business is on a downslide. I hope Penske's got a plan. I really do, because this is not good. It's not good. This is not a good time to get into the car sharing business. At least I don't think so. Now, here's an example of car sharing woes. Car owners arriving at Orlando Airport handed their keys to arriving guests who had arranged to share their cars through the Turo car share program. They had a car share. People were coming on the plane. They were going to get the car next. They hand them keys. Well, the Turo, T-U-R-O car share program. Instead, they were greeted by police officers who issued citations for doing business illegally on airport property. Hello? Hey, here's your car. Here's your ticket. A week later, a cease and desist order was delivered to Turo's San Francisco headquarters. How did I know this company was in the land of fruits and nuts? Ordering them to stop doing business at the airport without the proper permits. In other words, quit your cheating. No more cheating. You're done. No more cheating. I may have told you this. I think I did a couple weeks ago. Amazon, who else, is installing Alexa in all GM vehicles in 2020. I can't wait. I think it's great. I really do. I can't wait. I can hear me now. Alexa, turn on that radio. Alexa, turn up that AC. Hey, Alexa, honk at that pretty girl walking over there. I could take it.
No.
That's not how it's supposed to be used. My little buddy Eric doesn't think that's how I should use. That's how I should use that.